Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to The Takeout. In this, the third week of the war with Iran, President Trump has hammered away at one overarching justification, the imperative to deny Iran a nuclear weapon. Polls show the country generally supports this particular objective, much more than it supports regime change, destroying ballistic missiles capable of hitting southern Europe, or dismantling Iranian proxy armies in the Middle East. Those are other objectives the president has cycled through since this war began. We note here that Operation Midnight Hammer, carried out last June, obliterated, Trump's favorite word, Iran's nuclear infrastructure, but it left behind an estimated 970 pounds of uranium enriched close to weapons-grade levels. So what's happened to that uranium since? Was Iran trying to enrich it to levels necessary to produce one or more nuclear bombs? Was it rushing to do this? This, it seems, is a pretty urgent matter. Here's what the director of National Intelligence reported to Congress last night, and I quote, "As a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There has been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability," unquote. Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, did not say those words in her Senate testimony today. Senator Mark Warner, the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee, wanted to know why. And if what you're about to hear sounds just a tad repetitive, it's to establish something written but not spoken.
Even in your printed testimony today on page 6, and your last paragraph on page 6, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There's been no efforts to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. You omitted that paragraph from your oral opening. Was that because the president had said there was an imminent threat 2 weeks?
No, sir. I recognize that the time was running long, and I skipped through some of the portions.
So you chose to take
my oral delivered remarks.
You chose to omit the parts that contradict the president. The president continues to say as well that he had no idea, was shocked that the Iranians had moved to take over the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm not aware of those remarks, and I think those of us here at the table can point to the fact that historically the Iranians have always threatened to leverage their control of
why would the president say he was amazed?
I'm not aware of those remarks.
What about the comments the president made that thought that he was surprised again, reports that Iran struck the adjacent Gulf states?
Again, I'm not aware of those remarks.
For the record, the president never said he was shocked about the Strait of Hormuz, but actions or lack of actions underscore a lack of preparation to mitigate Iranian efforts to threaten vessels there. The president did say he was surprised that Iran launched drones and fired missiles at neighboring Gulf nations. But the question of Iran's nuclear capabilities matters as much, if not more, than any of those others. What did the president believe about that threat? How did he come to that belief? This matters because CBS News reporting today confirms Trump is still weighing a military mission to locate and retrieve that highly enriched uranium inside Iran, wherever it might be. That means boots on the ground and all the risks that entails. Again, to quote the director of National Intelligence, no efforts since last year by Iran to rebuild their enrichment capability. Our Weijia Jiang joins us now from the White House. Weijia, I also want to play something else that was an exchange with Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, from John Ossoff, Democrat from Georgia, about this question of imminent threat. Please listen.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
The only person who can determine that is the president. Weijia, that brings us to the White House and what the president is currently thinking about that, as well as potential U.S. military efforts inside Iran to retrieve, as we reported today, enriched uranium.
And Major, the reason why these 2 points matter so much to Democrats is because these are two of the main reasons the president and the administration said were justifications for starting this war to begin with. Administration officials said that there was evidence that Iran was rebuilding its nuclear capability. That's one reason. Number two was this imminent threat to the United States that the president insists was active. And that is why he said he preemptively took steps to thwart that attack. And that is also why Democrats spent so much time pressing Gabbard for more clarification about that. But as we just heard in her own words, she didn't offer much clarity. She sidestepped many of the questions and punted to the president in that last exchange there, even saying that it's not my job to determine whether there's an imminent threat to the homeland, that the president can only do that. Later, Ossoff and other Democrats argued that that's exactly your job, to assess threats, to present them to the president. And yes, while it's true it's his job to decide how to respond and whether to take military action, they want to know more about what this community and 18 different intelligence agencies determined. And you know, Major, we have to mention that this hearing is coming on the heels of one of her deputies resigning over this, the first defector from the Trump administration to say explicitly there was no imminent threat, and that is why he says he can no longer work for the administration and really undermine the president's argument about this war. It's notable that she herself has not talked about that deputy, Joe Kent, who, of course, we've been reporting on now for 2 days.
Weijia Jiang at the White House. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.